by in a moment. So, my name is John Vandeman, and if you didn't know that, you would be able to tell it by the gargantuan obelisk behind me. Here, which has John's name on it. I think it is the largest thing in the cemetery that is not a tree. There's one other obelisk down that way that's about the same height, but John, what can I say? I like to build things on hills, right? The house and the obelisk up here on high ground. The Vandemans came to Delaware in around 1820. When Mom and Dad moved here. Dad was a Presbyterian minister, Henry, and came here to be the first minister of the First Presbyterian Church here in Delaware. I was born in 1832, which puts me about a decade behind another famous Delawarean you might know by the name of Rutherford B. Hayes. And although I was about a decade younger than Rutherford, I followed Rutherford's footsteps through grade school and high school here in Delaware, and then went on to Ohio Wesleyan. Got my degree there at Ohio Wesleyan. But at that point in 1850s, I decided, you know, Dad's calling is not my calling. I'm not going to go into the ministry. It was the law that called to me. But there were no law schools in the 1850s. It's not how you became a lawyer. You became a lawyer the same way you became a carpenter, or you became a blacksmith, or anything else. You apprenticed into the law. And so I went and apprenticed with a law firm here in Delaware by the name of Powell and Book. Part of that name may sound familiar to you. Mr. Powell, who later was Judge Powell, had also served as a postmaster here in Delaware. And in his time as postmaster, one of the things he did was placing a new post office in a little tiny village in the southwest corner of Delaware County. And so grateful were the few folks who lived there that they did not have to come to Delaware to get their mail anymore, that they decided to rename that little village after him. And some of you may today know that little tiny village of Powell in the southwest corner of Delaware County. Married here, practiced law here for more than 50 years in Delaware. My wife, two of our children, our daughters buried here as well. Our son, who was a colonel, is buried in Washington. A few things I guess I should tell you about me. I was not particularly originally interested in a career in politics, but like young Rutherford Hayes, was drawn to the Whig Party, not this kind of Whig, but the Whig Party, W-H-I-G. And that party, of course, folded in the 1850s. And it was in the late 1850s, in 1859, that I happened to see a speech in Columbus by a political candidate by the name of Abraham Lincoln, and became a lifelong Republican as a result of that speech. Campaigned for Abe, both here in central Ohio and way out on the west coast of the U.S., Iowa, in 1860 and 1864. And that led to a career, somewhat of a political career here in Delaware County, that included being Delaware's first mayor when Delaware became a city, and serving as the first elected county prosecutor here in Delaware as well. I guess I should tell you a few other things, but I'm going to ask you to move this way. I realize built the home here in Delaware that still stands at 339 North Sandusky Street, and I joked earlier about having to change my presentation, and that's because one of the members of your group resided in that house for a number of years at 339 North Sandusky, and there's a picture of it there. She may recognize a few of these framed things since they came from the house. You'll notice the Civil War marker there. I was a little old to serve active duty when the Civil War came around, but did serve and was a second lieutenant in the Guard. So stayed here in Delaware during that time. There wasn't a lot to do battle-wise here in Delaware at the time, but there were some squirrels to hunt, and so you'll see the Squirrel Hunter's certificate over here. Many of you may also have seen the very large Civil War monument that stands in front of the county courthouse. That county courthouse was built in 1868, about a decade before Lydia and I built the home on North Sandusky Street, but I spent many a year in that courthouse. This certificate right here is a memorial certificate for donating toward the construction of that Civil War monument. Anyone who donated anything got a memorial association certificate that you see there as well. And I also have here, and I'm being very careful with it because of its age, this is not a photocopy. Again, our prior resident has, the residents of the home have passed it on from one to another, as we will do to the next residents who live there. But This is my August 24th, 1864 Civil War discharge paperwork.
Or you can pass that on to the Historical
Again,
Society.
the Historical Society already has it scanned and in the archives at the Historical Society. I can't remember, Chris, whether you did that or whether I did it afterwards, but we've made sure now that it's all there. So, and in addition to it being signed and dated 1864, it's also stamped 1897 on the back for my Civil War pension, which I collected the last several decades there. And so we've got a lot of paperwork at the Historical Society connected to the Vandeman family. Letters from my sister's suitor to my parents asking for her hand in marriage. A number of letters from folks who did serve in the Civil War back to me here in Delaware. All of those are in the Historical Society's archives. Also in the Historical Society's archives down at the Meeker House is a piece of furniture, which maybe Donna will talk to you about as you move on to your next location. Land speculation on the west side of the city of Delaware. You'll find a Darlington Avenue and Darlington Road and Vandeman Avenue, which are developments. The family did much of the land on the west side of town was in the Vandeman family at one time.